Everybody's talking at the comic spot. The comic spot. The comic spot. Everybody's talking at the comic spot. The comic spot.
Hi, everybody. It's me, your girl, Linda Marcus Smith. I'm like a bad penny. I keep coming back. This is Comic Spot, brought to you by the amazing organization called the Veterans of Comedy. Will C. and Eric Knowles started it to leave no laugh behind. They're kind of like a mini USO thing that goes around the world and in the United States. And since your girl here was in the Army in 1973, yeah, I was in the Army because
Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, the Marines didn't want me. I didn't want to go in the Air Force. I was afraid of seamen. What can I say? So the Army, I was qualified for the Army. Now I've got 2 brain injuries. I'm qualified to go into the NFL, I guess. I don't know what. It's just a weird world how it goes. But today, thank you to the Veterans of Comedy. By the way, if you're ever looking to hire someone who served our country and is now serving up jokes, go there to their website and find my videos and hire me, nobody else. I mean, hire somebody. That's my little take on that. Today, oh my gosh, I'm starstruck. I'm fiddling with a bottle cap because I'm so nervous. I have someone here who I've adored from a distance. And now, kind of like God, God does with us. And now I'm sitting here and I'm going, I can't believe she's here and giving me any attention. I can't believe it. We have the writer, the actor, the producer, director, the comedian, the legend, the daughter of a legend, the sister to another legend. We have somebody here of comedy royalty in her own right. Oh my gosh, you've seen her all over the place. She's been on TV shows. She's had, I think, One Woman Plays, if I'm reading this correctly. She does things in the real world that benefit people. Oh my gosh. She has Yiddish roots like I do. I'm not talking about these. She's more Jewish than I am. My mother was not Jewish. I could not wait to get to know her. She's a real great human being, adding value to the world. Enough with this already. Let's talk to her. Welcome to the stage, your friend, because I know she's like that, Rain Pryor. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Oh my gosh.
Pleasure.
I love you already.
Likewise.
What would you like to talk about today? At some point, let's go through your whole life and hear you tell me about it. But what would you like to talk about?
Whatever we want to talk about. There's so much going on. I mean, we're in a brand new year and we're still in COVID and, life is happening. The people we admire are passing away and new guard is taking form, and it's just all very interesting the way the world is right now. We have no idea what's going to happen, where we're all going to go and wind up. And so it can be a very anxiety driven time, and it can also be a very exciting time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, prior to, I shouldn't say that word. Before you came on the show, I had a contest to see who could give me the best question to ask you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And a Vegas comedian was the winner. Because I'm in charge, control freak. And her question was, this could kind of start us off talking about your life.
Go for it.
And she's making an assumption, which may not be true. You're a strong woman, and this might not even be a true fitting question, but I'm going to ask it.
All right, please.
What was it like living in the shadow of a famous father? That's the question to honor her. But
That's a very good question, because I think a lot of people would want to know what that's like. And I think there are, at times when you have a parent that is larger than life, at times you get met with the positive aspects of that, which is people really telling you great things about your parent. And that's always very comforting and very soothing, especially since he passed. I love hearing that. I knew him as daddy. So, and was he perfect? Not at all. And I think the hardest part for me, which is why I don't really do it stand up anymore. So I really applaud those who can still do it. I think the hardest part for me with stand up was that people expected me to be just like him. And I'm like, I'm my own person, like, and I'm a woman. So the jokes are going to be different and the perspective is going to be different. But yes, he was my dad, so I think that a lot of times that's how it is, or there's an assumption that you have a lot of stuff. Like for some reason, celebrity and stuff go together, but I don't think people realize not all kids get the stuff. So, we all had to really, and still do, work for what we have and get, it's not something that's just grown, out of us. So there's that, at times there's that assumption, or, that's where you're going to be. Your
yeah,
hair looks beautiful, by the way.
thank you.
I'm looking at mine because I'm like, look at all my gray. Like I'm like, I have all these weird, crazy gray strips throughout.
You know what Wendy Liebman does? She goes, just a minute. And then she'll touch up her roots.
Right.
This is crazy. Who came up with this idea that women have to look at themselves to talk to other people? We're going to be sitting there going, I'm never good enough.
I know, right? Exactly.
And men are going, oh, I deserve Cindy Crawford.
Yeah, exactly. And they get her. So, I don't know. Like, we're the ones putting in all the work, but
We're the peacocks.
yeah, exactly. It's hilarious. But that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's see, where were you born? How many times did you move because of your family's entertainment business? Your mother was an entertainer.
That's a really great question. So,
Thank you.
I was born in Los Angeles at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, believe it or not, when it was downtown, not when it was like closer to Beverly Hills or West LA, they call it. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I pretty much lived in the same place since till I was about 13, and then my mom moved across the street from my grandparents in Marina del Rey, California. And so from 13 to the end of high school, that's is where I lived. Well, no, not till the end of high school, till I was 17, because then I moved in with my dad at the end of high school, and he lived in Bel Air, so I lived with him there. And then I've always lived in Los Angeles until 17 years ago, where I decided and that was after my dad had passed away. I was like, I think I'm done with Los Angeles. I think I need to find a life. And I moved 3,000 miles away cross country to the East Coast.
And you're in East Baltimore.
Yeah.
And I love your house, and I love your videos on your porch.
We live in a house my husband grew up in, so it's kind of fun, because now we're at that stage this past year of redoing it, so like getting rid of all the 1970s vibe and putting it in a more modern feel, and lots of apologies to mom and dad for the fact that we're changing some of the things that they had, but they're fine with it, and so that's really exciting. And that's what I love about living here on the East Coast, is there's that sense of family. I know all my neighbors on the block, and I didn't have that in Los Angeles, believe it or not. Like, everyone's just too busy and too for themselves. And so here, I like that sense of community I have here.
Wow. Well, a man from Baltimore saved my life in the military.
Wow.
I'm going to cry.
Oh.
So if you ever meet anybody with the name Marchetti, they're probably related to him. And he was my first sergeant in my unit. And he said, "You're so sweet." I was the only woman in 73 on the post that was female military.
Oh, so you were Private Benjamin.
Yes.
You were Private Benjamin. I love it.
And he said, "You're too sweet. They're going to put in some barracks and have women come. You're too sweet. They'll either stab you or,
Right.
he was very homophobic, and he assumed that they would be wanting me sexually, and he
Right.
wanted me to live with his family." Well, the women came to Hanau, Germany, and started living in the barracks. And then the guy at the dispensary went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and he stabbed the guard and
Oh my
started
goodness.
killing all the women in the barracks.
Oh my God.
And
And
they
this
stopped him
actually
after he killed a few. What?
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be sitting here today.
So I have a lot, Baltimore is a special city to me because of
Absolutely.
First Sergeant Marchetti. So what? You went to Baltimore because of your husband and his family? Is that it?
No, I didn't know him then. I came here I had two friends, and I was actually getting ready to go through a divorce. So I was like, okay, it's time to just go and really have the life I wanted. I didn't want, like, I still wanted to do entertainment, but I wanted to do it a different way. Like, I didn't want to be absorbed into the machine of the industry, like what I looked like, what kind of car I drove, who I hung out with, blah, blah, blah. Like, all of it was just too much for my mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go where people don't care. And so, and I wanted to go to New York, but I was like, it's so expensive. And I was like, I don't know if I want to, live paycheck to paycheck all the time. And Baltimore is a lot more affordable. And so that's where I ended up. And then now I have this amazing family and life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I'm happy I did it. I might not have the whole celebrity lifestyle that, a lot of people have because of not being in Los Angeles, but I think I have more peace than they do in my spirit. Like, just, I don't have to keep up with the Joneses, and I like that.
That's amazing.
So,
I do notice you said the word peace. And when I'm listening to you or seeing the things you post, I feel at peace. So not only do you feel it and you have it, but you exude it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Can you tell people a whole lot of things that you're involved in? We'll get back through your life in a bit, but you're doing some amazing things. There's an acronym of IEH or something that you do with Jewish people. And
well, I work a lot with work with bringing marginalized voices, especially that of what I refer to as Jews of color, their stories to the forefront. Like my solo show, Fried Chicken and Latkes, was inspired by, oh, no one tells this story, we haven't heard this yet, kind of thing. And so that's the work I do. I work with a lot of different Jewish organizations as well. One, to be representative of someone who is not Ashkenazi informed, which is more of the European white looking Jewish people that people have come to know in the States mainly. But to be that person who is maybe different than what we normally see in the group. So I'm part of JWI, which is Jewish Women's International, and they deal a lot with domestic violence and issues regarding women. So I really support that. One, having grown up in a household where there was domestic violence. I mean, like I said, my dad was not perfect. So I'm very much in support of women who have been through abusive relationships. I'm also on the board of JFF, which is Jewish Infertility Foundation, to help women, and men and families be able to conceive and have children, whether it's through IVF, but to give that emotional as well as directive support to them. So I'm very excited to be involved in that. Mosaic Visions, which is an artistic form of Jewish expression, but also our focus is on Jews, of indigenous Jews of color, whether that's, Native American, Asian American, African American, whatever it is. So it encompasses, a lot. And that really excites me, as well as I'm on the Columbia Arts Festival board. And I really love that because I'm also a director and I'm directing 3 pieces. Like, I remember when we talked, I'm like, I have nothing to promote. And then all of a sudden I got 3 directing jobs. I'm like, yay! So I'm excited to be directing 3 very interesting pieces. One is an actual digital theater piece, which will be on Zoom. So we're going to film it beforehand. So it has the combination of television, film, and stage. So I'm really excited about that. And the other one's I'm going to see, sorry, a stage. Another one is a staged reading. So there was the truth, I guess, if you sneeze on it. A stage reading that I'm really excited about with 2 actors, and one of them happens to be a best friend. So that's really exciting. And that's in connection with the Columbia Arts Festival, as well as another piece, which will be actually on stage, hopefully with COVID. We don't know at the moment, but so far so good. That's supposed to be on stage in early spring. So I'm really excited about those things that I do.
Please let me know of all
I
of
definitely
them so I can promote.
Yes, most definitely. But all those different things I'm involved in. I also ran for office a few years back, which was brand new. Talk about like not being a politician and like, I think I'll step my toe in this. I think some of it was a bit naive, and then other parts of it were really because I felt that maybe not being a politician is a good thing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. And for me, I learned I have a better chance of helping my community and people around me than being involved in the politics of it. I have a very sour taste for politics in general, and politicians really. So because of my run, I learned a lot that I think I was very naive about, of how politics in our country is run, and it's very brutal. It's a very brutal race, and people are not nice. And I'm a nice person, so I want that family, like, community. Let's bring everyone together, like the old days. Like, we'll find a barn and put on a show, like that's how I am. I'm like, we'll pull in the community and we'll build something great together, and everyone will be happy for future generations. Yeah, that's not really how it works.
Now it's barn burning.
Yeah, exactly. Just tear it all down. But yeah, so I have done, I like people. I really like inspiring people to be their best selves, because I think I'm always trying to be a better version of who I am.
Me too.
In life. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can always do that. We can't control others.
No, you can't.
And there's, like, I've got 70 years of potential baggage to be bitter, but the challenge is to get better.
Right. And I think we all have baggage. I'm also a firm believer in working on your issues. I'm a firm believer, like, digging into that space that you didn't want to, that you thought you had it all under control, that you put on the shelf. Like, take that down, dust it off, look at it so you can grow from it. Like, that's who I am.
Yes.
I'm not by any means would I ever say I'm perfect. I have said the wrong things at times. I have done the wrong things in times in my life, but I'm almost 53 years old. I've learned a lot from that, and I try not to repeat it.
My parents survived the Holocaust, and my dad had to lie, cheat, and steal, and it became pathological. So he taught us 3 kids to lie, cheat, and steal. I didn't know it was, you kind of know it's wrong, but you're being told to do it by someone you love, and I was told I wasn't wanted. I mean, I got issues at the yin yang,
Right. And so you get to, we get to just keep going on in life. It's funny, I don't have answers for, I grew up also around a lot of mental health issues within my family. And, I think it's funny how we don't address that in our country, really. I think we're starting to, but basically because of the pandemic, I think it just glared out for everybody, that isolation and what was going to happen for everybody,
Yeah.
But I'm really big in like addressing and taking care of our mental health the best way we know how. Everybody comes to the table with something, everybody,
Everybody.
and that's what I've learned, that there's no such thing as perfect. Mm-mm.
Oh,
We're perfectly imperfect. That's what's perfect. You know what I mean? Like we're born, we live, we die. Like we get the cycle.
yes.
That's the
We're
most perfect
perfect
thing
the
we
way
have.
that we are,
Yeah.
like how dare anybody tell us, how we should be. Just we
Yeah.
just need to be and be just like comedians judging each other
Yeah.
and your choices and your path and your comedy. It's like
Yep. Yep.
whatever you're doing, be you and be it to the fullest and mind your
Yes.
own
Absolutely.
business.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Quit judging.
Yeah, go away.
Oh my gosh. And people are off their rockers lately. And they, like with this pandemic, it's made certain people act far more aggressive. And like they're saying on
Absolutely.
the news, a lot of people are like losing their marbles.
Well, it's hard to be. I think, look, we're human beings, we're animals, and instinctually, animals are not solo. Animals are tribal, and we do best when we're in groups. And we do best alone to think and resolve maybe an issue that we have, and then we always come back to the group. And so this is the first time, I think, unprecedented history, that we were forced to be, some of us, literally isolated
Yeah.
and away. It's like, as I went through breast cancer last year, and so far so good, survived. And, you know, during that, I had to go it alone because my husband wasn't allowed in the hospital or to the doctor's appointments. And that's a very scary thing to have to go through, and wake up in a hospital by yourself, after a major, because I had a double mastectomy and reconstruction. But to have all that and go through that during the pandemic by yourself is very scary. And I understand how you can get so caught up in your own space and head because you don't have that contact or release, out. That's very hard. So I'm not surprised that we're going to see more of it. And then financially, everyone's going through it. People weren't able to earn the way they earned. I mean, that's why I always go back to what my grandfather said, really wealthy people have multiple streams of income. And I understand that now. There's a reason some countries people have 2 to 3 jobs, and we're in that era right now where, like, even for me as an actress, I couldn't act for almost a year and a half, 2 years. Like, it wasn't an option. Like, to put myself at risk wasn't a place. I missed a whole year. I missed 2021. So I think, like, because I was going through cancer. So for me, 2022 is like a rebirth,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, right?
So speaking of acting, let's
Yes.
go through some of the things. What's the highs and lows of your acting life?
The highs are that I have been on successful TV shows, and I've had guest parts, and, created my own solo show, which toured for 20 years. And that was my bread and butter. And the downs of it is, I, a while back when it was a thing, it's like I wasn't black enough to be black. I wasn't white enough to be white. I didn't look, and if you look like me, which they consider a light-skinned Black woman, in order to work, you had to look like a model. So you had to look like a Halle Berry or a Lisa Bonet. And I'm unique looking. I look like me, but it's like they didn't figure, oh, you could be mixed race and still look like Gilda Radner and be, famous. Like, and like nobody put the two together, and now we are. Like, so, I see that factor changing, my solo show was picked up to be developed into a series, and it was exciting in 3 years. And I had heavy hitters behind me like Norman Lear. It was amazing. We pitched, no one bought it, and then everyone disappears, and you're like, remember how we used to talk once, so like those things don't happen, and that hurts. Like it hurts because I think the fantasy of is, okay, we're all going to be one big happy family on this journey, and no one's going to give up. We're going to go, and we know how long this kind of thing takes. But after that, and it was in the middle of COVID that we pitched, right when things were heating up at the end of, I think it was 2020. Yeah. So that was a really hard time for me, just emotionally. And I felt like the work that I've done for the last 20 years wasn't going to go anywhere, mean anything. And then all of a sudden, a friend of mine said, do it yourself, figure out a way to do it yourself. And so I started writing and taking classes and all that stuff about your creativity to just keep me on track. And I think those are the lows, like when you hope for something or you're right on the edge and it doesn't happen, but the truth is, and I always forget, because we all do, we're human, right? You always forget. In hindsight, you should be glad it didn't happen, because that thing that you want is really over there. And so you're being directed to the great thing you're supposed to be doing. But when you're going through it, you can't see that. It really sucks to go through that part. And those are the lows. But the truth is, everything that I have done or been involved in, I always leave with a better feeling, than when it first happened. So I really do have a place in me that thinks it's gonna be all right.
You can sing.
A little, yeah.
No, you've done, and I heard your voice on your video, and you can sing, you dance, you act, you do voiceover, you direct, and you write. And
Yes.
oh my gosh, what is the downside of being Rain Pryor?
The downside is that I'm not making the money I should be making for all the things I can do. But that's going to change. But still, yeah, that's the downside, is I don't live a Hollywood, like if you saw I don't live a Hollywood lifestyle. I don't have chefs and cooks. It's me. I'm full on, I'm hands-on mama and hands-on wife and hands-on sister friend. Like my brother's here now, and he'll be here for another few weeks. And that's like almost a month he's been here, which is awesome. And
your brother, Richard Pryor Jr.
Yeah. And so that's who I am. Like I'm a family person. I'm a friend person. I love dressing up. I love those moments where, like, the celebrity thing, like, that feeling you get when someone recognizes your work, that feels really great. But the best is when my daughter is okay and she does well in her art or in school. That's the thing that gives me my real, highs. Or my husband is happy about something that I've done. That makes me feel good inside, more so than the Hollywood stuff. And that's really why I moved here to Baltimore, and really what I wanted. And so I've cultivated that, and now being able to do what I do on my terms. Yeah. And that's exciting.
So talk to me about your daughter. I want to hear a little, I want to feel like the videos have more meaning, because I can watch them and the relationship. Let's talk about the feeling you have towards your daughter and what you're instilling in her. Something is coming through the pictures that tells me how special it is for you to have a child and to raise a child in today's world. Let's speak about it.
Going back to JFF. So I never knew there was a JFF. I never knew there was a Jewish Infertility Foundation. And so I had 3 miscarriages before I had Lotus. And one was very devastating because I should have been at least a few months along. And I miscarried on tour in London playing Billie Holiday at the time, and ended that tour to go into the hospital, in which time they were like, you have endometriosis, you have fibroids, and we're going to get rid of them. And And I was like, will I ever be able to have kids? And they're like, yes, try again. You're cleared up, blah, blah, blah. But nobody ever talks, really about that. And that's also another thing that I'm really behind, is supporting, especially again, women of color and our health issues to be recognized and heard and supported. And so finally, I conceived and was able to full term to have Lotus. And my relationship with her, to me, like, so the day she was born, I'm not joking, Buddhist monks under the Dalai Lama came to the hospital with their instruments and their robes, orange robes, and did a whole ceremony. And people were like, who's in the other room? And it was just us. We just happened to have gone to this temple at the time and became friends with the geshes there. And so they wanted to do this because they knew I had been struggling. And so they wanted to give her that. And so, I knew, okay, this kid is pretty special. Like, this doesn't happen every day. So, how can I foster and encourage? I didn't expect to end up being a single parent, and I was for a very long time. And what I got was, I took her everywhere with me. I took her on tour. I took her to auditions. I showed up to everything because it was important for me to be the parent my parents weren't able to be to me, for her, and what I got to have with her is a very unique bond. She's like my little best friend, and then it's hard for her because then I have to be the parent. I'll be like, look, we're not on the same level here. There's consequences for this. But
This is identical to me and my daughter. Keep going.
And so to have a child means so much to me, enough so that here I am at 52 talking with, my husband Dave about, should we become foster parents? Like, I really love children. I believe in fostering healthy parental relationships with kids so that they can thrive in their life. My daughter is 13, getting ready to go to high school, and she decided she wanted to do art. And so how do you support that? Because she's been very focused academically and she gets great grades. So how can I foster that for her? And to me, that's what a parent does. It's like, I'm supposed to set her up for success. Then she takes it, when she's older. But what can I do to give her all the tools I know how possible, or seek them out, so that she can be the best version of, herself? And I think so far, I think we're doing a pretty good job. She's healthy. She is very emotionally intelligent. And her too, she has struggled with anxiety and depression, and a lot of that started when I personally got sick. And so I had heart issues. I still have heart issues, but I took care of them where I can function in the world. But I have heart issues, and that really frightened her and kind of set her off, as it would, because our bond is so like this. And she said, I can't imagine a world without mommy. What would I do? And oh, it's so beautiful. But yeah, so being a parent is like one of the best jobs I think I've ever had in my entire life.
Yes. How old is she?
She's 13 years old, and
Wow.
in April she'll be 14. Yeah. And it's I can't believe it. Like, I just look back and go, what?
Now, is she choosing to practice Jewish tradition?
I'm not a religious Jewish. I'm not religious.
Me neither.
I am very spiritual. So, and I have a lot of friends who know a lot more about Judaism than I do. Thank goodness. So, she goes to ask questions, but I make sure I celebrate like the high holidays, Passover and Hanukkah, and have that sense of Judaism for her. So she knows, and she identifies as a Black Jewish mixed race, girl. And I love that about her. And I also practice what I call African spiritualism. It's Ifa. And so that's a very part of her world as well. And so I think we have a good balanced lifestyle. I'm also of mind for me that she gets to choose what she wants to believe. It's not for me to tell her. I can give her information that I know for what I find to be true and works for me. It doesn't mean it will work for her. You know, she might decide Buddhism works for her. Right now, she's like, you know, God is in everything. So let it be so. Like, I have no judgment about that. If that works for her and makes her happy, and she's still kind to people and of service, then that's what matters, you know, to mama. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. So has she expressed a desire for entertainment? Because she looks like she has a sense of humor, if I have to say.
No, she is. She's naturally hilarious. So
Yeah.
I really believe if one day she ever wanted to be like a stand-up or do something like that, she'd be great. She's also naturally an actor and a director, like just has that naturally. She'll participate in school plays without telling us. Like we'll find out the last minute to go. So because that's her own thing. And she said, I don't know if that's something I'd want to do as a career. She goes, maybe I want to be a doctor, mom, or a veterinarian or an artist. She loves art. That is her go-to place. That's where she finds, you know, her peace. And she's done some beautiful work. And, you know, if it's meant for her to do, hopefully she'll go to a performing arts high school in the future. I'm hoping that would be, she gets accepted, and we'll see. If not, that's fine. She'll still do her art, you know.
Does she paint, or what medium does she use?
She draws and paints charcoal and pastels and all that, and pencil. She blows my mind.
Are her items up for sale anywhere? It'd be
Not yet,
interesting.
not yet, not
I'm
yet.
interested in
I know,
seeing them.
right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
I can't wait till I can actually post them. I have to wait till after this acceptance period, and then I can post what because she's been so focused academically, and that kind of, I'm going to put that on her dad, and say that's kind of where he was at. Like, you know, that's great that you like dance, and it's great that you like da da da, but I want you to succeed, you know, kind of thing. That was his thinking, very linear, and I had to be okay with that because we do co-parent. And now, you know, she's like, no, I really like art. I kind of want to go in that direction. And so she had a week to put together her portfolio to submit for this school. So when I show you what she did in 1 week's time, you're going to be amazed. Like, you're going to be like, she did that in those 10 pictures in 1 week. I was blown away, not because she's my kid. Like, literally because I didn't know she had that in her. I didn't know she could draw like that. So I'm literally like, oh my God.
Wow. What does she usually draw?
All sorts of things, like, you know, whether it's, she normally draws, I think, faces and eyes, and they all have something to do with emotionally whatever she's going through or friends going through. Like, they're always deep, but I didn't know she could do a still life. I didn't know she could look at an object and draw it so well. Yeah, I love it.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it is.
So talk to me a little bit about meeting your husband, and tell me about that.
You know, I met my husband shopping at the Rite Aid. He worked at Rite Aid. You know, and it took him a long time to ask me out. And what's funny is he asked me out when I decided, I was living in Baltimore, but I decided I'm going to go back to LA for a year to work on my career. And Lotus and I packed up and off we were going. And then I find this guy finds me on Facebook and says, hey, didn't you da da da? I was like, I knew who he was. And I remember going into the store because Lotus said, Mommy, how come you don't go out with guys like that? And I'm like, because they don't ask me out, Lotus. So that's what was so funny. So I was like, okay, she picked him. So I knew then he would probably be the right person for me. But, you know, he courted me, which was really lovely. Like, you know, I remember he said, we were talking on the phone one day and he's like, yeah, I sent you something that should be arriving today. And I was like, okay. And then he called like, you know, 4 hours later and he's like, I don't know if it's arrived. Can you go check? And there he was standing at the door dressed as a UPS guy. Like that's just the sweetest thing. Like that's how he is. And so, you know, and he's the calm. Like sometimes I think like I always compare him to me to someone who has Asperger's because he's very neutral. Like you can go, Dave, it's raining in the house, like the roof is open, we have to fix it, it's raining, and his response is going to be, and we got to do it now, and his response will be like, okay, we're going to take care of it, it's going to be fun. Like he's so even, you know, you'll be like, hey, I'm having a heart attack, he'll be like, all right, we'll call 911. Like there's no, oh my god, there's no, oh, we got to get there. It's just like chill, which I think is good because I'm the opposite. So you know, it's lovely.
It's a good balance in there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. So what do you want to accomplish in the rest of your life? Because, you know, I'm 18 years older than you, not to give away your age, but I'm 18 years older than I'm 70. Whoops, now if people are good at math, they're going to know how old you are.
I do not mind people knowing my age. I am not one of those that shies away from age stuff at all. I know I don't look totally my age. I'm 52 years old and about to turn 53. And what, you know, I have no idea, to be honest, what's going to happen in my life. That's what life has taught me with things, you know, like every time I've had plans, it's almost like you can make plans, but God has other plans. It's that kind of thing. The universe has other plans. And so I kind of feel like at this time, I know what my skill sets are. I know I act, I sing, I direct, I write. I love helping people. I talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. I have certification from Cornell University to do diversity, equity, inclusion work. I love all that, but I'm always drawn back to my art, which is acting, directing, writing. Like that's where my love is. And so I know that's where somehow that's what I'll be doing. And, you know, for me, if I look at the future and were to write it, that I am on the level of success where I'm able to hire other people and help other people to achieve their dreams and their goals in entertainment, and help uplift them. And that's what I hope to accomplish later on, besides good health and all that, you know, that's what I hope for myself. But, you know, like I said, every time, you know, God laughs while, you know, he's making other plans kind of thing. So I kind of leave it up to that. And look, even my kitty agreed. She just meowed.
Are you aware that I wrote your brother probably 10 years ago when I first started writing comedy, and a joke came to me about, and the punchline was Richard Pryor, but I did not want in any way to offend your family, and I wanted them to approve it. So I wrote him and asked him if I could have the family blessing to say the joke. And he wrote me back and told me, go ahead, you have our blessing. That was really special. So
that's my big brother for you.
Yeah.
He's special.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, Rain?
In our family, there are 3 boys and 3 girls.
And where do you fall in that mix?
I'm the middle. I'm the third. Yep. And what's interesting, so we have 3, my junior, Elizabeth, and me, and we all grew up in the same era together. But then it drops down almost 20 years, and there's another 3 that are from a different, you know, in a different era. So that's really interesting, that are much younger. They're in their 30s. Yeah.
Wow. And your mother is still alive, I guess.
My mother is still with us so far. Yeah.
Some of her, she went out to space or something, or anti-gravity. What was that?
She did 0 gravity. So my mother, though, professionally, besides being a writer, as well, author, my mom is a astronomer. No, yes, is an I was going to say astrologist. No, an astronomer. She would kill me for that because there's a difference. So she's won awards from NASA. She has written works for Caltech, curriculum for Caltech. She's just a brilliant, also in her own brilliant, crazy life way. That's who, she is. So yeah, she did zero gravity. She always wanted to do it. And so she did it. And I'm just glad she was able to tell us about it afterwards.
So did she go off into space or did she do something in a lab? What's
No,
that?
she went, it's like you go right to the atmospheric level. That's where it is. So it's not quite space, but it's not quite, it's like right on that thing where they can do the zero, G and be floating around. So I thought that was so much fun. That's so cool. So I was glad she was able to do that.
So I want to ask you straight up.
Yes, ask
Does
me
your-
straight up.
I'm just picking up that your mother might be a little eccentric.
My mom is very eccentric.
Oh, good.
My mom
Good.
is not a little eccentric. My mom is 100% eccentric. My
Because
mom,
she was a go-go dancer too.
Yeah. if you took, I'm trying to see like characters that we would know. If you took Mama Rose, Frida Kahlo, Madame Curie, Einstein, and
Gee,
just had a baby, it would be my mom, Shelley. Yeah.
She is so diverse in
She
all
is,
her.
she's diverse, she's dynamic, she's crazier than a goose. She's she's all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at the pictures and I thought, I think she's eccentric.
She is, and she is very. Yeah,
That's
there's
so cool.
nothing. She never fit the norm. Like she was the outcast in Beverly Hills, showing up to my, Beverly Hills functions, PTA meetings in a dashiki and an Afro wig. Like who does that in the 70s? And people looking at her like, who the is that? And
So I have to ask the question. It begs the question. How did your mother and your father meet?
My mom was a go-go dancer at the Star Strip, I think it was called, not strip club, but it was something in Los Angeles. And my dad walked up to her wearing a big clock like Flavor Flav, but before Flavor Flav, and asked her for the time. And my mom said, I knew right there and then he was the man for me. Yeah.
Oh, man. And they were married how long?
For 2 years, which I think is a long time for my dad.
What's your best memory of your dad that's personal, but not too personal?
I think everything is my best memory of my dad. I mean,
Daddies are so important. You said daddy earlier.
But
That's
that's
so
what
sweet.
he is. He's my daddy, always be like, I was a daddy's girl.
Me too.
So he was my dude.
Our daddies can do no wrong. I'm sorry, not when we're a girl.
He's done, like, he's embarrassed me, he's shown up for me, he's not shown up, like he does all the things, so I think there's too much to have to, I can't pinpoint one thing other than I will say I really miss being able to go fishing with him. That was something that was special, and it was definitely between us, and I loved it. So I miss that.
That was special because it was between the two of you and you're out away from everything, just him and you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, my cat.
That's okay. We're probably getting to the end of this and I'll let you go because I think that you might be needing to go. I
need to go to pick up Lotus from school. That's the only reason I need to go.
I love you so much. Now,
likewise.
I've been ill, but I've done 2 shows a week on Zoom for the military. Military people doing military show, talk, comedy, poems, whatever. And I'm right now looking to get it restarted now that I'm feeling better from COVID. And I would love to have you on in the Bob Hope guest honorary spot. And so could I hit you up for that in the future? I'll pay you.
Aw, sure.
Okay, I'll hit you up for that when I get that rolling.
All right.
That would be an honor
I'll
to
think
have
of
you on
funny
there.
things to talk about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
I love you too. You're awesome. You're so sweet and kind.
Thank you. It's because It's because I have 70 years of not really receiving it, and I don't want other people to feel it.
Right? Yeah.
what-
No. Same here. I don't want people to feel negativity. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Every